Thank you. This is so much fun. So hate to change the mood a little bit. Sorry. So I'm the head of diversity and inclusion at Yelp, as you all heard. And this is my second time at Yelp. Everybody check my LinkedIn out. I was there 2009 to 2011. I was a recruiting manager. The company was pre-IPO, 600 employees, and marching towards becoming a public company, right? Working 24/7. I remember calling my mom and saying, "They have breakfast, lunch, and dinner here." She was like, "Yeah, because they want you there for breakfast, lunch, and dinner." So like every startup, we were working our asses off. And as the recruiting manager, my charge was to bring in the people, the sales, marketing, everybody. And after 2 years, I noticed I was bringing in the same type of human being over and over and over again. That person did not look like me. There were 5 black women at Yelp. I can count them on my hand, and I was one of them. So wasn't this conversation in tech about unconscious bias, microaggressions, diversity, like not even an inkling of that. So I didn't have the framework, I didn't have the words to speak about the things that were happening to me, the microaggressions, the bias, the discrimination, all these things that were happening to little old me. And I grew up in Silicon Valley, San Mateo. Anybody been to San Mateo? Yeah, So I'm used to being around diversity. And I'm used to sometimes being the only, and that was okay. But it was feeling a little different at Yelp, just for some reason, just a little bit off. Wasn't feeling quite right. I was kind of sick going into work some days, not exactly excited about marching towards that IPO that everybody else was so excited about. So I came in and I told the COO, who was a very nice white man, I love him to death. He and I talk like this, right? Very open. And I said, "Look, Jeff, I'm not really feeling this whole thing, and so Friday's gonna be my last day." It was Monday. Yeah. So I left and went back to another old job, a small boutique firm, woman-owned, where I felt safe, where I could contribute, where people looked like me. And as you guys all heard the story, guess what? Yelp went public. But I wasn't there. So this story of diversity and inclusion is more about equity and access to wealth, because I missed out on millions of dollars. It pains me. It makes me sick every time I think about it, but that's the truth. And in reality, the bigger picture is when African Americans, Hispanics, women, folks with disabilities leave tech, they're also leaving opportunities for wealth creation. So this conversation for me is so much bigger than just Yelp or Google or hiring a Hispanic or hiring. This is about missed opportunities and how we need to level the playing field and make sure that everyone feels included. So I'm gonna go on with my little story here. So I went to a company called Solar City, great company, went to another startup, and I was at this startup where I was working with a woman I was gonna really kind of nurture me, give me, that leg up in my career. Like, I was having a good time, and I got this phone call from, remember that white guy I told you about, Jeff? Yep, it's 3 years later. Gave me a call, and he said, we're thinking about hiring a head of diversity and inclusion here at Yelp, and would you be interested? I first said no. Not even interested. Because it's been 3 years, and quite frankly, what have you been doing in the 3 years since I gave you this very honest feedback? And I was holding my breath. I was thinking, if he lies to me right now and says, we've been doing this, that, and the other, I'm gonna hang up the phone. That's gonna be in game. But he took a deep breath and said, we have done nothing. And I said to myself, now we can work. We are starting from a place of honesty. And this is going to be a great relationship. So I went back, 2014, and, quite frankly, they hired me because of my recruiting background. They were like, Rachel, well, you know where to find the black people and the Hispanics and all stuff. So the Pied Piper, right? But not so fast. Not so fast. My inkling was that what I was feeling in 2011 was the same thing that was happening to people still in 2014. Just had a little hunch, a little sick, feeling in my stomach. So I went on what we call in D&I a listening tour. I went to our office in Chicago, New York, Phoenix. Well, it's actually in Scottsdale. Anybody been to Scottsdale? All right, you're right. It's 89.9% white. I checked the census data. I'm not lying. So I went on my listening tour. First stop, Scottsdale, Arizona, because it's the closest, and it's a nice place to visit. I went down there with what I call my diversity Tasmanian devil, right? I had my Birkenstocks on, my tie-dye t-shirt, because I went to Berkeley, and I'm very much crunchy granola. So I went down there waving my rainbow flag, and I realized I was in a red state. African Americans and Hispanics were pulling me aside and saying, can you tone it down with that diversity talk? You're calling too much attention to us. I was like, whoa. My boss called me from San Francisco. His name's Jose. Jose was like, you are stirring it up down. Like, I'm hearing about your visit, and it's only been a day and a half. He said, keep up the good work. So I checked Yelp because, I got to eat my own dog food, right? So found the one gay bar in Scottsdale, Arizona. It's 3.5 stars, by the way. And was like, let me get all of the LGBTQ members together. These are my peoples. Let's get together at the one gay bar, have some drinks, and let's talk. Let's get down to organizing. This is at this point, 600 or 700 person office in Scottsdale. Now it's 1,200. But then it was 600. I get there, and there's 5 people. And I'm like, all right, okay, yeah, what's everybody doing? We're talking and chatting. 15 minutes go by. I was like, appreciate y'all coming out. But where the hell is everybody else? I know there's got to be more. And after a very awkward silence, someone said, I don't feel comfortable being out at work. And my heart sank. And I carry that story with me everywhere I go. That fuels the work that I'm doing at Yelp. Fast forward, right? Been 2.5 years. We've created all these employee resource groups. The LGBTQ group has 4 chapters in all of our offices. They're called Outburst, and they are out and proud, and they're providing to the company business feedback. And I want to just give you a quick example of how inclusion work can affect your bottom line as a company, your product. And I don't think this would have ever happened had, Jeff not woken up and he called me and all these other things that happened. So the Gavin Grimm case, anybody familiar with Gavin Grimm, the case, transgender restrooms? So a lot of tech companies, thankfully, signed an amicus brief in support of that case. And so that got conversations started at the top in my company without me even having to be involved, which was great. And we crowdsource ideas still at Yelp. So if you have an idea about the product or anything, just send it to don't do this. Send it to ideas at Yelp, and we'll follow up on it. And someone sent in, say, hey, why don't we add something to our product that lets people identify businesses that have a single stall, gender-neutral restroom. And our product team dropped everything they were working on. Now, I would imagine probably business features that would bring in some revenue. They dropped it for the next 5 days and worked day and night to push out this new feature on our app. And they did that in conjunction with Outbursts, with their support. They didn't, first of all, the product team, all white, cis, male, gendered folks. So they realized they had a blind spot when this topic came up. And they reached out to the group and said, what's the right nomenclature? Is it all gender? Is it gender inclusive? Is it? And the teams worked together to create this product. That Friday, we rolled it out, and we probably had about 150 press hits, positive, because I'm gonna be real, y'all know, not everybody likes us all the time. But this is that one moment where everybody thought, wow, how awesome that this company that we sometimes kind of hate is doing this really great thing to support the community. And now the data that we're gathering from crowdsourcing, everyone's adding in who has a gender-neutral restroom or who doesn't. We are now feeding this information back to the transgender community so that they can feel safe and they can support the businesses that support them. So I want to say to you that if Yelp can come from a place where I didn't feel included as an African American woman to adding a feature that supports the transgender community, your company can too. Thank you.